Okay, so
Is it on the? Are you taking a photo or a video?
well, I had it on video,
Okay, good. Yeah, I see
and the
that on
camera
video.
went off. It just went off. I don't know why. I'm kind of
Oh, that's weird.
new at that, but anyway. So after Darius started growing up, he he was delayed in speaking. We thought. My oldest son used to say Darius could talk when he said, well, you can't speak. I was taking him to the doctor saying he doesn't really say anything. He just kind of stares at you. But what he was doing was absorbing everything everybody else was doing. So one day, his dad had him on top of his shoulders and was taking him down the hallway. And my son jumped up and tapped him on the head. And he said, "Leave me alone, Dakari." so, so we were all like, "He does talk. He does talk." So after that, I think Darius got a love for bikes. And he loved to ride, but he was too little. And he kept saying he could do it. I can ride it. I want to ride it. So what he would do was get his brother's bike and ride it, but he couldn't stop it. So he would ride it into the bushes and just kind of tear up all the hedges and everything. And after that, then he started begging for a dirt bike. So being the mom who thought I knew what all the kids wanted, I waited to Christmas and kind of rushed out and bought him one of the little electric power bikes. I was so excited because we really couldn't afford it at the time, but we kind of bit the bullet and got it for him for Christmas and hiding it from him, playing Santa. When Christmas morning came and he got up and he saw that electric dirt bike, he started screaming, "No! No!" hurt
Oh my
my
gosh.
hurt my feelings so badly. I want a real one. I want a real one. So his dad kind of laughed about it, and we all made jokes of it. But we was not sure that he really knew what he was talking about. So as he grew, he did go ahead and ride it. But I was real disappointed because I had bought him that bike, that little riding bike, electric bike, and I thought that this was the thing. Had no idea. Although my older son rode dirt bikes and loved them dearly, Darius wanted to be like him. So he actually started sneaking and riding with his brother, and then he would go with the O'Briens, his dear friend that was in kindergarten, like pre-K with him. And they would all go out and they would sneak and ride dirt bikes. And he started coming home telling me that he really wanted a dirt bike. And I was still against it, but his dad was like, I think we'll try him. We'll get him one. And he started going. We would go sometimes, but wasn't sure. And he loved it. Oh, he would do everything. He was growing up. He would cut the grass. He would do whatever it took, so the money wouldn't have to be paid to somebody else, so he could use it to go dirt biking. Still, everybody
Oh my
was
gosh.
not really excited about him dirt biking. But I started going to a race here and a race there, and I said, "Oh, he's pretty good at this." But I was so frightened about it. I always was frightened about him riding a dirt bike. And back in 2006, my worst fears were lived. I just felt like he would get hurt on that bike. But the real strange part about it was that he came to me that Thursday night while I was fixing dinner. We were in the family room looking at TV. I was cooking. And he said, "Would I live if I broke my back?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "No, I was talking about if I broke my back on riding a bike, would I live?" And I said, "No, you wouldn't. And you keep asking about that. I don't know if you're going to be going." He had been begging to go dirt biking the weekend coming up. And we were headed out of town to some property that my family owned to see if he could like make a track and ride and practice during the summertime. But that last race is what he was calling it. "Please let me just do this last race." So he begged, and a friend that was with him said, "If you don't stop asking her about that, she's not going to let you go. If she think you might get hurt." And he said, "Well, I was just reading about somebody else who got hurt." That Saturday, after the Thursday that he asked those questions, was when my worst fears were lived. I was in the hairdresser talking to his teacher about how I love dirt biking because it just kept him out of trouble. He wasn't, it kept kids interested in their bodies. It just did so much for him. And, he always had something to do. It was just really awesome.
I
My,
can't even imagine.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you always, were against him being on the bike. So what happened? Like, walk me through what happened once he recovered. Did you? He kind of told me that you were like, you're not getting back on that bike. But
Oh, yes. I was adamant that he was not going to ride that bike again. I couldn't really, I had no real idea. I knew about being paralyzed because I work in healthcare, but I had no idea that his feeling wasn't going to come back. When I got that call that Saturday that he was hurt, I knew he was hurt bad because I don't think they would have called me. So I rushed up to Pennsylvania, and as soon as I walked in the hospital, the doctor said, "Who's his mother? Which one's his mother? He'll never walk again." Oh, I screamed so loud, and I heard Darius say, "Yes, I will walk again. Don't listen to him." And I was just disturbed that the doctor would talk like that. So everybody was coming up to see him, and everybody was just, really feeling bad for him. And then I started thinking, oh, this is a lot more serious. But all the time, the other doctors were saying, we're running tests, things may get better, whatever. So when they decided to take him into surgery, he called me to the bed and he said, well, that doctor has big hands. Will he be able to do a good job? And I thought, oh my goodness. Well, lo and behold, they operated on him, very long surgery, and the doctor really did not do a good job. We ended up having to have him transferred down to John Hopkins to Dr. McDonald. His god brother's mom worked there, and she was so devastated because everybody knew how he loved that bike. Everybody knew, that he loved that bike, and nobody couldn't imagine that he had gotten hurt on that bike. I got a picture of him when he got his first real bike that he was going to compete with on his birthday, and he was just so happy about it. So, um, after that happened, we brought him back to Maryland, and he started going to the Kennedy Krager down at John Hopkins, and that was the turnaround for him. He was such an amazing patient. He was just excited about getting better. He was I can't wait to ride my bike, and everybody was kind of feeling sorry for him, thinking that he won't ride again, but I don't know how to tell him or whatever. But what happened was they made a deal with him. I had actually leased a truck that we could use for him to go to the races. And he also loved that truck. He likes riding, driving, motors, engines, but dirt biking was just his thing. So what they did was they made a deal with him that if he could get in the truck, he could go home for the weekend. And he had been in the hospital at the time, probably about 2 months. He had me bring that truck down there, and he got up in that truck, and the therapists were just amazed. They could not believe that he could climb up in that truck and drive it because he had portable hand controls. So I think that was the beginning of him getting back on the bike. But to make a long story short, he'd been going to visit his friend Daniel O'Brien, and they put him on his dirt bike. He wanted to see it, and they put him on it. And the first time he saw that bike, he kissed it. He had a love affair with that bike, and he started just riding. I don't think he at the time thought he would be competing. He just thought, I'm gonna ride the bike. So when he found out he could keep his balance, and he's always been good with balance, and when he found that out, he started sneaking and riding. But I was so upset till I made him sell his bikes, and came home one day when he was really feeling bad about his situation, that he had a fundraiser at one of the tracks and bought himself a bike. And my mom, who was his co-conspirator, also was in on it. And his dad brought the bike over to the house, and They brought the bike. I had to make a bedroom for him in my living room because he couldn't get up and down the stairs at the time, and we didn't have the lifter. And they brought the bike in the house, and Darius was so happy. Oh, he was just ecstatic. And when I came in and they had taken all the furniture and moved it aside and set the bike up in there because he had planned with his friend to modify the bike and fix it so that he could ride it. And the first responder, when he got injured, told him, if you ever get riding again, I'm going to help customize your bike or chrome fit it or whatever they called it.
Okay.
So he was so excited about that. He, my mom got on me about being upset about the bike being in the house, and she said, listen, we'd much rather have Darius here in the living room with the bike than to have him out there in that cold garage trying to work on it. And you know he's going to work on that bike. So I went along with it, and
Are
he.
you still are you okay with it now?
I'm okay. I'm okay with it now because now he's an adult, and he can make decisions for himself, and he's so level-headed that he makes pretty good decisions. During that time, if he wasn't mature enough, and I think if it was a jump that he may not have been able to make, he thought he was invincible, and he would make that jump anyway. Now, the only thing that frightens me now is that he'll get thrown off the bike, but he's kind of come up with a seat belt that he wears, and he can ride, and I've seen it looks pretty sturdy, and he's making decisions on his own. And I think now, my he's changed my life so much that I feel that if I had a career or something that I loved like that I could, work with it and somehow make a living with it, which is what I want to see him do, then I think I would be so happy doing it, just like he is. He just grabs life. He's meeting people all the time. He don't meet any strangers. He just knows so many people, and he talks to anybody. And for a kid who didn't talk for a long time, to just talk to anybody. I think the motivational speaking is gonna be his thing because he loves talking to younger people who think they can't do something, and he'll tell them they can do it. And let me just give you one other good example. I decided to make the move to Atlanta because he's down in Tallahassee and I was in Baltimore, so far away. My mom's in Florida, daughter's in Texas, but I have a grandbaby here. So I said Atlanta would be a good place. Well, when I bought the house I bought, it was just really a mess. And he called me one day when I was just kind of down about it. I said, oh, it's so much work to do. I don't know what to do with it. And he said, I'll come and clean it out for you. And I said, Darius, you can do a lot of things, but to clean out a big house like this, and he said, just don't worry about it. Well, when I came home at the end of the week, he was here. And he had two buddies with him, Chris and DeVale, which he calls his brother. And they cleaned this place out from top to bottom. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, old carpet, old cabinets, so anything he sets his mind to, he can do. He just grasps life, and he grasped life and just run with it. So I think he's changed my life tremendously because I was fearful of living alone after divorcing from his dad. And now I don't really have any fears like that. I think if he can do it, and he tells me he can do anything from that chair but walk. So he gets his grandmother excited by taking the chair and jumping out the door like he does on his bikes and just have a good time, scaring people and just having a good time. So, you know, I'm okay with him riding it now because he told me if his life ever ended and he was riding his bike, he was very happy. So cremate him and put his ashes in a gas can.
Oh my god. So how did the accident like affect your family?
It really affected us terribly. My older son introduced him to biking, so he thought, somehow he was responsible for it happening. He and his dad and I were going through changes already, so he couldn't get there, and he was the one that was supposed to be taking him. So I think that kind of helped result in us just going through a divorce like we did. My daughter, she just became his advocate. She is the greatest. She thought that I was holding on to him too tightly. So she got him to enroll in college down in Florida. He was in college in Maryland, but just hanging with the wrong group of kids, just trying to fit in. And she brought, we sent him down to Tallahassee. He had a choice to come either to Atlanta with his older brother or to Florida with his sister and brother and my son-in-law. And he decided he would go to Tallahassee. And they worked with him and gave him the self-confidence to speak to groups of people. And oh boy, it really affected us, but we're getting through it. And, so many people have been blessed now because of his situation and how God has really blessed him with the gift to just gab and talk to everybody and to feel like he's Superman. He can do anything, is like he says. And
Yeah. So how do you think the accident actually affected him? Because obviously it affected him greatly. Like everybody keeps telling me he has such a great, outlook on life, and he's always smiling. He never, But there's got to be a struggle there, especially with riding. Like, what are the struggles? Because I have, like, everybody has said everything positive, but you're his mom. You're the one that knows him the best. What are his struggles?
you know,
What is really challenging for him?
I think the one thing that I would say is challenging for him is because he's such a independent person and spirit, is learning that, he had to depend on somebody else sometimes to help him do things. Like, he can ride that bike, somebody has to help him get on it. When he stops, somebody has to help him get off. Um, and he's one that doesn't ask for help. He tried to figure out a way to do it. And I think that's the biggest challenge for him, just being able to ask somebody to assist him with something. He's always going to try it first and see which ways he can make it happen on his own. And I think that he wants to go to Loretta Lynn so fast. He's definitely good enough. He's fast enough. But I think that the vast community of riders probably feel that, you know, it depicts their kids possibly could be hurt doing it, you know. And some of the big sponsors I don't think would pick him up because of that. But if they just looked on the bright side of it and saw that he can do anything, like that Nike commercial, just do it. He just does it. He
Yeah, it
perseveres.
sounds like it.
Yeah.
I was talking to his friends, and I was like, he's Superman. He is Superman. He can't use his legs, but he's Superman. It's crazy. He showed me videos of him like getting downstairs, and I was like, I don't understand this at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's incredible.
He's definitely
So
incredible.
he really is. So, do you think that he could possibly take the national title?
I know he can. And
Who do you think he
and
did with the national title?
I can see him with the national title. I don't know which class it'll be in, but I can definitely see him with the national title. If they have good track where there's not, it's not so messed up that it causes his bike to go over, because that's kind of what turns the bike over. Like, another rider can put his foot down when he go around the curb. He can't put his foot down, so he depends on his balance. And he works out. He's consistent. His upper body is like something you've never seen, because he just works out consistently. Make sure he put the right things in his body. He eats well. He could definitely take the national title. He definitely could. I don't think I'm strong enough to be there looking, but I'm his number one cheerleader. And me and my daughter probably would argue about that, but
So you don't like to watch him ride anymore. You don't watch him ride.
every now and then I do. But I think I make him nervous. I think he's so concentrating on not getting hurt that, when I'm there, that he kind of lose his focus. So, if it's a big race for him, I usually don't attend that one. I'll talk to
Okay.
him before, see where his head is, see if he's, really, really focused and think this is a good race for him to try. And then we've got this thing where as soon as the race is over, win, lose, or draw, he has to call. Or he has to have somebody else to call. So,
Is there anybody Is there anybody that you know of in the family, his friends, or anything like that, that don't want him to be racing? You know, whether just like it's too dangerous, like what happened. I even heard that he hurt his pelvis about a year ago. Like, is there anyone that's really not on board with all of this?
Well, see, that's the amazing thing. Everybody thinks he was born to do this. You know, just me. His grandmother's even on board with him. You know, she's 82. She loves it. You know, and you know, I don't think anybody thinks he shouldn't. Me and his dad talks about it. We thinks he, you know, could possibly wear his bones thin or whatever, but he's living, man, and he's just enjoying life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
you know what? I really know what you mean after talking to a lot of his friends and your family and him, of course. It's, it's really inspiring. It's really,
yeah,
really inspiring.
yeah.
Um, so what do you think, Jenks is the filmmaker that, does this documentary series, when he goes down, if he goes down, what do you think he's gonna learn and witness when he follows Darius? What do you think? Do you think he'll learn how to ride a bike, or do you think he'll learn what perseverance is? Like, what do you think he's gonna see?
He's definitely gonna learn what perseverance is. That's the major thing. Um, and he'll probably have a more in depth look at the struggle, the daily struggle for somebody like Darius that has to take care of his own body functions, you know, because when a person is paralyzed, you know, their toileting is different, um, you know, but he'll find out that that's just the way of life for him. He just feels that, you know, I can still do everything. I'm here. I'm blessed. I wake up every day thinking, what am I going to get out of this day? And it'll change Jink's life because it don't matter what color, what injury a person has had, what size they are. He just loves people and he talks to everybody and make them laugh. You know, he just puts fun in it.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to ask you. We've kind of gone over a lot of stuff. Oh, we talked a little bit about his motivational speaking. What do you think about that? His career. Do you think that should be do you think he should start focusing more on that and less on writing and focus more on his motivational speaking?
Well, I think because he's aging, you know, 22, he's getting up there in age. I'd like to see him do some, you know, photo shoots, TV commercials, things showing other people with the similar situation or a situation like his what they can do. You know, motivational speaking is definitely his interest. And my mom, when he was a very young boy, he told my mom that he might have to preach on Sundays. And you know, he really is a believer, you know. And
Yeah.
and he, you know, I just think that the Lord has something special for him to do. And it may be just motivating people, you know. And I think that's what God wants us all to do is just, you know, be our brother's keeper and help people. And I think Darius is certainly on the right path for doing that.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let's see. Anything else that I can ask you? So do you think this has affected his personal life too, like social life? Do you think that?
Nah, yeah, I think it's affected it all right. I think he just loves girls and young ladies rather, and he has, you know, he doesn't seem to have problems, you know, meeting young ladies, and they always like him. It scared me because I didn't think, you know, I didn't know a person in Darius's shape could have children and have a fruitful marriage and every doctor that I've talked to is like, "Oh, where you been?" You know, he'll be fine. People do it every day, and
Oh my gosh.
so you know, my fear has been relieved because there's nothing to stop him. He just can do whatever he wants to with life. You know, we were really pushing him to get a college education, and I think eventually he'll still do that. But he wants to grasp life now. He wants to to speak to people and tell them about his experience and help them when they're going through depression. One night he called me and he said, you know, somebody emailed me on my Facebook page and told me they were going to kill themselves until they heard about my story. I'm so glad I helped them, you know. That just touches your heart. It just, I tell you, it does something to me. And everybody that meets him for the first time feel like they're a relative.
So, what would you say was your biggest fear for him? What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fears will always be him getting hurt on that bike again. Um, but, you know, that's a fear any mother would have. I just want to see him do well in life. I want to see him have a family. Some of the things I know he wants to do, you know, and just enjoy his life. And I'm hoping that with all of the racing around the country, he'll meet people and he'll either start his own business or, you know, get in film or do something where he can have a good income coming in to take care of himself because his dad and I have struggled, but we've managed to keep him driving a vehicle and being able to be out among people and go to races and it's very difficult, trust me, in this economy, but we've stuck in there together to do that and I'm kind of proud of him for not being a wasteful person. He'll cook his own meals instead of going to the fast food places and he's just really a great kid. A great young man. I got to say now he's no longer a kid.
He'll always be your kid, though.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So let's see. Anything else that I need to ask you? I'm just going over a few
Okay.
questions that I usually ask. Um, so we kind of talked about how it affected your family. Like, I know that one of his best friends, Daniel, kind of stopped writing for a while.
He
You know,
did.
it really affected him because he was there. And, you know, has there been any kind of repercussions within the family after this happened? You know, like, what changed? Obviously, something had to have changed. Is there something that you can really see that's changed because of the accident? And, you know, now he has to, you know, live in a different way?
Changes. Um, I guess the biggest change would be that we all no longer live in the same place. You know, we are spread out, and that caused him to explore. You know, it started him to opening when he first had to go down to Tallahassee. He had a fit. He didn't want to leave out of that small environment. Now he's all the way in California and wants to go out of the country and asking for a passport and things like that. So I think it opened his eyes about the broader world out there and showing him that people are from everywhere and even in his condition he can get other places and he can do it, you know, other things. I think the one thing that he wishes that when he came to and came home, we were all in one place, so he wouldn't have to try to see everybody all over the place. But you know, that's just life.
Yeah, is there a reason why everybody's spread out?
Well,
Or
careers and you know that kind of thing, but jobs. So
okay,
so
no, I
ba-
understand
yeah,
that.
so basically
I don't
basically
live here,
that's
so you know
it.
what?
Yeah, basically that's it. But I think that he wished we were all in the same town, but you know, we're not.
Okay. Were you and your husband divorced before the accident or after the accident?
Well, we got divorced right during the time of the accident. So,
Okay.
you know, we were already having some issues prior to that, and we got divorced right during that time. So, you know,
Okay.
that was hard for Darius and it was hard for me, but I think everybody's pretty much healing from that, you know, pretty much healed from that by now.
Okay. No, I just
And
wanted to ask because I didn't know if that was part of the story as
yeah, and
well.
we're friends now, you know, we definitely talk and do things that's in Darius's best interest, and we make decisions about him together. So,
That's great. That's
yeah.
healthy.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and his siblings, his brother and his sister are right there. They always want to know what's going on with him. Where is he? And what's he doing? And he'll call them before he call us most of the time because he think they.
Do you see Darius a lot?
Do I see him a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. Every chance I get.
Awesome. So how many times a year would you say you see Darius?
uh, how many times a year? Probably at least every month or every other month.
Okay, cool. So you could say like I see Darius uh, about every month.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I
Do you
moved
just
to
say that just
Atlanta.
because I'm gonna edit my voice out? So
Huh?
do you just say that because I'm gonna edit my voice out? So
No, no. I see him about every month to every other month. It depends now. Now that I'm closer, I see him sometime more often than that because I'm in Atlanta now and he lives in Tallahassee, so it's only like a 3.5, 4 hour drive. And he'll jump in the
okay.
truck when he misses me. He'll jump in the truck and come up here.
Or you need someone to do his laundry, maybe.
No, he does his own laundry. He's very
Oh,
independent and he cooks. You know, he's one
yeah.
of the best bakers. My mom is a really good baker. And that's another skill he has. He bakes cakes and sells them to people. And he did some
What?
catering for Christmas. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's Superman and he bakes. I'm like, I can't.
And they're
I
good.
can't cook.
And they're good. I can bake, but I don't love baking. Darius loves it. He got a professional mixer for Christmas last year.
No way.
Yeah, that's what his grandmother gave him as a gift.
That's so funny.
Her recipes, and a mixer.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, like that'll be something he treasures forever.
Yeah, and he uses it too.
That's awesome. So who would you say is he's closest with in the family?
Probably his sister.
If you could just say, if you could restate that.
If I said it's hard to say who he's closest to because he's close to people, in different ways. But I would probably say if anybody could convince him more in the family of doing whatever it is that they want him to do, it would be his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a special spot for her. That's his girl.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
wish I had a brother. I
Well,
always wish I had a
and see,
brother.
it's so hard for me to say that because he and his brother, they're so close. They're like act like they're about the same age sometimes, especially since Darius is now 22. But they always were close like that, and he knows things about Darius that we probably don't know, and his sister is the one who's like the detective. She can find things out and make him think she knows, and then he tells her.
Oh my gosh. Well, is there anything that we haven't covered that we should know about Darius or know about your relationship with him or
You
his
know what?
story?
One thing that I didn't say about him that if I had to tell you something about him, he was so let me tell you how humble he is. He was selected by the Steve Harvey Dreamers Academy to participate in the joint venture that they had for Disney World and Steve Harvey. They take a group of kids from the different cities to Disney World once a year, and he was selected based on an essay that he wrote to go. And so when he was selected, they sent a poster to his high school to say that he was selected. And they didn't,
Uh-huh.
they just posted the poster up on the wall, So one day the principal, Dr. Pasteur, called me and said, "I'm going to hurt your son." She said, "I talk to him every day. And I even said to him, that boy on that poster looks just like you." And he just smiled and said, "Ah," which is his great laugh, and walked away. And one of the kids said, "You do really know that's him, right?" And, and she didn't know it. So she called me at home to tell me she was really going to have a problem with him the next day. But when he did attend that Dreamers Academy and he met so many young people and so many mentors, it really sparked an interest in him to just do something and be around people. And he won the face of the academy. And there was another boy there named Darius with a very similar last name. And when they called for the person who had won this award by Walt Disney, the other boy thought it was him. So he went up and received the award. But it was really Darius's award. And Darius was already backstage with Steve Harvey. Well, when that happened and they realized it was a mistake, they kind of, great Disney, they whisked off and made another trophy and, came and presented it to Darius. And he said, "No, give it to him. He really deserves it." So he gave it to the other kid anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. And they did a lot of articles about it. It was really, really nice.
Oh That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, if that's everything, you can stop recording right now.
Okay.